Ooh, look at all of these chocolates. You see, I am a chocoholic. I'm someone who is addicted to chocolate. Usually, I try to reduce the amount of calories and sweets and chocolate that I eat, but last week was Easter, so I've got a good stash of chocolate. And a stash is like, a collection. So here, in this little tray, I have lots of mini Easter eggs and some Easter bunnies, and I've been pigging out on chocolate for the last week. So I reckon I'm going to put on weight. And this is exactly the time when I should really be trying to, cut down on calories, to slim down, to get my bikini body. But when I've got chocolate in the house, I just can't help myself. I can't help myself from eating chocolate. I've just got to finish it all. So that is today's little introduction because I've been eating so much chocolate. But I imagine I'm not alone because I think in a few different countries around the world, Easter is a time when you end up eating a lot of sweets and chocolate. So, tell me, are you a chocoholic? And do you have Easter eggs or Easter bunnies around Easter time filled with chocolate? And of course, as you know, this is British English Pod with me, Lewis, and it's a pleasure to be back here once again on the hottest day of the year. Whoop, 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 whoop. So it seems we have a little bit of a heat wave. I'm recording this on the 9th of April, 1 week before it comes out, 1 week before I release this podcast. And today we have here in Brussels a maximum temperature of 24 degrees. Wow. It's boiling. It's roasting. It's scorching. And today, well, I've been doing something quite tiring, but quite interesting. Or at least I hope it interests you. Because the video that I uploaded now last Sunday, showing you around my house, my routine around Brussels, explaining some different vocabulary in context through comprehensible input, is, well, what I've been recording throughout the day. So I woke up this morning at about 7:30. I had my first little espresso before getting changed and going to the bathroom. And knowing that my next class was going to be at 9 o'clock, I thought I'd make the most of this hour break to go for a little stroll. So I went for a stroll around my neighborhood. I had a wander around my neighborhood, listening to a podcast about football, and on the way, whilst recording different things to show you, I picked up a quick coffee. I grabbed a coffee so that the caffeine would kick in and give me energy for the rest of the day. Then I jumped into the shower. I started teaching my classes. So today I've already taught 3 classes, 3 group classes back to back. If you're interested in joining these classes, as always, there's a link in the video description. And well, I've just heated up some leftovers in the microwave. And what I had for lunch today is something that's very, very typical in Spain. And it is lentils. So I had some Spanish lentils, which is like a lentil stew, including some chorizo, some lentils, some garlic, some onion, a little bit of aubergine, a little bit of courgette, and carrot. And you stew it for maybe a couple of hours until all of the flavors kind of combine. And To be honest, we don't eat a lot of lentils in the UK. And if we do eat lentils, it tends to be in like a curry. So you might have a lentil curry. But when I lived in Spain, I started to have lentil stews quite often. And it's something that is a very, very complete meal because you've got fiber, you've got veggies, you've got carbs, it fills you up, you've got lots of vitamins and lots of nutrients. So it's a very, very healthy meal. And it's something that usually you would have more when it's cold weather outside. It strikes me as a very, very winter dish. So it's ironic that I warmed up these lentils and had them today when it is so far the hottest day of the year. But hey, I don't always plan everything to perfection. And I opened my fridge and saw that I had literally nothing. The only thing I had was a beer and some sauces and some kefir. Because I'm trying to get into kefir. I didn't used to like it, but I know it's good for you, so I'm trying to get into it. So that's why I grabbed the container of leftover lentils from the freezer, whacked them into the microwave, waited 5 or 6 minutes, and I gobbled them up. You know, I ate them with a lot of enthusiasm. And that's what I've literally just done. And then before starting to record, I had a look at my stash of chocolate and had one of these. It's a white chocolate Malteser bunny. And, oh, it's very nice, but it's very sweet. Because, of course, white chocolate is sweeter than milk chocolate or even, of course, dark chocolate. And I know, if you love chocolate and you're a chocoholic, you will probably say, but white chocolate isn't even chocolate. It's all artificial. I know, but it's tasty. So who cares? So that's what I've had. And then I'm going to continue to record this podcast in which I'm going to be speaking about this week's topic, which is something that a lot of people make mistakes with. And it is, when do I use the gerund and when do I use the infinitive? And when do I use the infinitive with to? So I'm going to give you some tips and create mini sentences and answer questions with verb plus gerund and verb plus infinitive. And then after that, I've got another couple of classes. Then I finish teaching at 4 o'clock. So that's a positive, absolutely. And I should really do some editing and some paperwork and some more prep. But you know what? I'm not in the mood. I'm just not feeling it. Because I look outside right now and there isn't a cloud in the sky. And as I said, it's roasting, it's boiling. So I really need to make the most of the good weather and take advantage of the good weather. Because for sure, it's not going to last. In a few days, maybe even tomorrow, it'll probably start raining and get cloudy and get cold again. So you've got to take advantage of these good days. So that's what I'm going to do from 4. I'm going to carry on recording my comprehensible input blog, showing different words and phrases as and when I see them. And then I've organized to meet up with my neighbor Pedro, and we're going to go and go for a run together, do 10 kilometers together, because both of us have signed up to do a half marathon in about 6 weeks. And it might come across like I'm boasting or bragging, but a half marathon is relatively easy for me. So I don't need to do a lot of intense training. Just with a month of running and being able to do 10 kilometers without any problem, you can always do double when it comes to it on the day of the race. But that's what I'm going to do later. I'm going to go for a run. And then after we finish our run, I'll be hot and sweaty, so I'll come back, have a shower, and probably go out for a drink. Why not? Because life is here to enjoy. And if you can't enjoy the nice sunny days, then what's the point? Have a little bit of fun. So that is my day today on the 9th of April. And it's an action-packed day. But I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling positive. So I think it's going to be a good day. Despite the fact that you might notice, and I already made a short video about this, that I have a cold sore. I have a cold sore. And I hate having cold sores. Oh, it's horrible. Some people are born with cold sores. Other people get cold sores for the first time after maybe kissing someone with a cold sore. And in my case, they started to appear when I was about 18. And I think I probably did get it from kissing someone. Silly Lewis. Silly, young, naive, foolish Lewis. And nowadays, these cold sores, they pop up. They come up and they appear on my lips, usually around the corner of my lips, maybe once a year or twice a year at most. And it tends to happen when my immune system, my defenses, are a little bit lower. If I've been stressed or if I've been sleeping very badly. But also, sometimes it happens if you've been sunbathing and you burn your lips, or it was really, really blustery, really windy, and as a result, you have chapped lips. So I think this time it's a combination of everything, and cold sores mean that, well, I can't kiss my fiancée for a couple of weeks.唉. Sad times, sad times. So I'm trying to think, hey, glass half full, I'm going to be positive, and a positive attitude can help everything. But let me know, do you ever get cold sores? Because if you do, you can probably feel my pain. And on the video that I made, I said very quickly, as the hook for my short video, this is not a herpes. And a lot of people were commenting, saying, well, Lewis, technically, it is herpes. And my point is that in English, nobody would say, I have a herpes. Never. Because there is negative stigma, because herpes is associated with sexually transmitted diseases or sexually transmitted infections. So Brits, Americans, Aussies, Kiwis, South Africans, native English speakers would never say, I have a herpes. But of course, I am aware that it is part of the herpes simple virus. So it's a type of herpes, but you'd never say, I have a herpes. Always, I have a cold sore, which is sometimes confusing because it sounds the same as the side dish of carrots and cabbage. You know, coleslaw and cold sore. But anyway, I'm rambling. I'm beating around the bush. I'm going off on a tangent. But a couple of weeks ago, you guys said that you like it when I just randomly talk about stuff. So there you have the introduction to this week's podcast. But as I mentioned, the topic is gerund or infinitive. Do we use the gerund or do we use the infinitive after certain verbs? And in general. So let me walk you through a few of these rules. And think to yourself, are there any rules that you are aware of for when we use the gerund, for when we use the infinitive with to, and for when we use just the bare infinitive? So we can begin and kick off with When we use gerunds, and gerunds are verbs in ing, to explain it in a very simplified way. So we use gerunds after certain verbs, like enjoy. I enjoy singing. Another example would be avoid. I tried to avoid eating too much chocolate, but I'm failing. I'm not doing a good job. We also use gerunds after prepositions. So after you have a preposition, we use the ing. I think this one you're probably aware of. So I drank a cup of coffee before leaving. I'm thinking about going on holiday. And then the other common scenario when we use gerunds, verbs plus ing, is as the subject or object of a sentence. So if it goes at the beginning as a verb, just add ing. Swimming is a good exercise. Playing poker can be very, very fun. So that's gerunds. Moving on to to plus infinitive. And again, sometimes there is no rule. Sometimes there are just patterns. So we use to plus infinitive after certain verbs. We decided to leave. I needed to go. I wanted to study. These are three of the most common ones, but we'll look at some other ones soon. Another scenario is after many adjectives. Not all of them, but the majority, I would say. For example, it's difficult to get up early. It's easy to pass a B1 English exam. It's impossible to win the lottery. You get the idea, right? And then the other scenario is to show purpose. I came to London to study English. I moved to Brussels to be with my partner. I'm studying English to get a better job. There you have a few examples. And now we use the bare infinitive, without to, after modal verbs. I can, I could, I would, I will, I should, and so on. I can meet you at 6 o'clock. I will go with you to the station. I should help you, but I don't want to. And we also use the bare infinitive after let, make, and sometimes help. With help, you can choose. I helped him to move into his house, or I helped him move into his house. So with help, it's up to you, whatever you prefer. But with let, always bare infinitive. Please let me go to the party. The teacher let us leave early. And make as well. He made me do it. He made me eat all the chocolate. He forced me to do it. And we also use the bare infinitive after some verbs of perception. Think see, watch, hear, notice, feel, sense. With all of these verbs, you are perceiving something. I watched her walk away. I saw her steal from the shop. I heard him approach me. I noticed them go to the bathroom, for example. And lastly, after expressions with why. Why go out the night before an exam? Why treat him in such a terrible way? Why force your friends to do that thing? You see, I'm running out of ideas for the examples now. But there you have some tricks, examples, and guides to help you to figure out, do we use gerund, infinitive, or infinitive with to? Hopefully that helps a little bit. Now, let's practice. Let's keep going And now I'm going to show you some of the most common verbs when we use ing. And I'm going to come up with my own examples, but you'll also see these examples. So, enjoy, ing. I enjoyed living in France. Now, my own example. I enjoy recording videos, but I also enjoy meeting up with my friends. Of course, we all enjoy meeting up with our friends. And I enjoy preparing a nice meal, knowing that I'm going to devour it. So I enjoy cooking most of the time because of the fact that I enjoy eating so much. The next verb is fancy. And fancy, remember, is another way of saying feel like. I fancy seeing a film tonight. Now, my own examples. Today, I fancy going out and going for a walk in the sun. And I fancy stopping for a coffee in the sun. I actually fancy an iced coffee. I fancy having an iced coffee. And I think there's some football on tonight as well, so I fancy watching some football. If I can have a beer whilst watching the football in the sun, then it is official. Summer has arrived. After that, we have discuss. Discuss, ing. For example, we discussed going on a holiday together. Now, my own examples. Yesterday, I discussed buying my own house with my fiance. And we also discussed moving back to Spain. And with some students, I discuss helping them with their English. So that is discuss. Now we have dislike, ing as well. I dislike waiting for buses. And it's true, this one applies to me. I really do dislike waiting. I dislike queuing. And I dislike being in traffic. Anything to do with waiting around, hanging around, doing nothing. They're all things that I dislike. I strongly dislike them. That's why I dislike traveling. Because the actual act of traveling, it's so boring. It's horrible. It's only good when you actually reach your destination and you can have fun. And then you can enjoy seeing the new place where you have arrived. Now we have finish. Finish, ing, once again. For example, we've finished preparing for the meeting. I finished having lunch just before recording the podcast. And in the morning, I finished having a shower just a minute before my first class. Then we have mind, also ing. I don't mind coming early. I don't mind answering questions that my students have. In fact, I enjoy answering their questions. And I don't mind going out for a meal with a big group of people. I don't mind doing that, but usually I prefer to go out for a meal in a small group. That way it's less stressful and you can all speak to each other. That's what I'd say. Then we have suggest. Suggest also ing. For example, he suggested staying at the Grand Hotel. When I was with my family last weekend, I suggested visiting Portugal together instead of them coming to visit us in Brussels. And I suggested doing a video call with my mum to help her improve her Spanish. And similarly to suggest, we have recommend, also ing. I recommend watching or listening to these podcasts every week, obviously. And I recommend using my application. I recommend talking with Lewis, my application. Then we have keep. Keep, ing. Keep going, keep running, keep doing it. Another example, he kept working, although he felt ill. Sometimes I keep recording podcasts, even if I see that there aren't many comments or likes. So, I might cry. But I'm going to keep doing this forever. I'm going to keep recording podcasts every week because I'm sure there are many of you who find them super duper useful. I hope so. Let me know in the comments if you do. And now one more with ing is avoid. I mentioned it earlier. Avoid plus ing. For example, she avoided talking to her boss. I sometimes avoid chatting to random people in the street. And sometimes I try to avoid hoovering my flat. I try to avoid vacuuming my flat. I'm a lazy so-and-so. Now, from there, let's look at 10 of the most common verbs that after these verbs, you have to plus infinitive. So, I'll share my screen again. The first one is agree. Agree. All of these are in alphabetical order. For example, she agreed to give a presentation at the meeting. She agreed to give a presentation at the meeting. I agreed to teach an extra class. Yesterday, a student cancelled their class, but I agreed to reimburse them. Or I agreed to change the timetable for them. Then we have ask. And in some RP, British English accents, instead of saying ask, they will say ask. I asked them. But I think this sounds a little bit posh and fancy. So, for example, I asked to leave early. I asked to go to the toilet. I asked to participate in the event. Another example, decide. Decide to. We decided to go out for dinner. This morning, I decided to record this podcast. And the other day, I decided to go for a run with my neighbor. Decide to. Then we have help. And as I mentioned earlier, here you don't have to use to, but it's correct either way. He helped to clean the kitchen, or he helped clean the kitchen. Both are good. I helped prepare for the party. She helped distribute the flyers. Then we have plan. She plans to buy a new flat next year. I plan, God willing, to return to Spain next year. And I plan to buy my own flat in the future. Who knows when? Then we have hope. I hope to pass the exam. I hope to be very, very healthy. I hope to have a great time when I go to the feria in Sevilla. I'm sure I will, no doubt about it. Then we have learn. They are learning to sing. I'm learning to improve my financial knowledge. My sister is learning to do judo. She's learning to do many things. And another easy one is want. I want to come to the party. I want to go out. I want to have a pizza tonight. I always want to have a pizza, don't I? Then we have would like. Would like to. I would like to see her tonight. I would like to lose a little bit of weight. And I'd like to get a little bit musclier. I think we'd all like to lose weight or get fitter. And then the other really common one is promise. Promise to. We promised not to be late. I promised to be there for you. She promised to give me a hand, to lend me a hand. So, I reckon all of these are fairly simple. And I'd say that you don't make a lot of mistakes with these ones. But it's always good to keep speaking. And sometimes when you're listening to the podcast, just to repeat after me from time to time. And now, what we're going to do is, I'm going to ask and answer some more questions, as usual. So, let's begin. Let's get started. And hopefully, you're finding this nice and useful. Here we've got 10 different questions, conversation questions that I'm going to pick and choose and answer. The first one is, do you fancy going out tonight or staying in? Usually, I fancy staying in. Usually, I can't be bothered to go out during the week at night. But with the good weather, I fancy going out. I fancy socializing, which is rare in me. It's kind of weird. It's uncommon. But yeah, I do fancy going out tonight. The second question. Have you ever avoided telling someone something important? Have you ever avoided telling someone something important? I probably have. I've probably kept something to myself before. Maybe I know a secret, but I don't want to reveal that secret, so I avoid telling someone something. Or, as a student mentioned this morning, when I have some bad news to give, I tend to sugarcoat it. I sugarcoat the news, meaning make it sound less severe or less important than it actually is. So, I told them bad news, but I sugarcoated it so it didn't sound quite as bad. That is to sugarcoat. Now, the third one. Would you like to go to a party this weekend? Would you like to go to a party this weekend? No, to be honest, I wouldn't like to go to a party this weekend because last weekend was intense. I've got a cold sore as a result. I need to rest. I need to relax. I need to take it easy. It was my fiance's birthday a couple of days ago, so I got her a night away in a hotel. So we're going to head to another city at the weekend and, spend a night, the two of us together. And we'll be walking around a new city. So hopefully the weather will be good and we can just, relax and be together. Because I definitely wouldn't like to go to a party this weekend. The fourth question. What do you enjoy doing in the evening to relax? In my case, what I enjoy doing in the evening to relax is watch series. I enjoy watching series in the evening to relax. Because it's just that moment where I don't have to make an effort to do anything. I'm just lying down, absorbing whatever is on, and I'm not really focusing most of the time, and I'm just in my own world. But I enjoy doing this because I do try to be as productive as possible during the day, whether it's teaching, preparing content, or other things. I enjoy being busy during the day, but then I really enjoy doing nothing in the evening to relax. The fifth question. Do you mind helping people when they ask you for a favor? Do you mind helping people when they ask you for a favor? Now, it depends on the favor. So, sometimes I don't mind at all if somebody asks me for a favor, and I'm more than happy to give them a hand and to help them. If they need my help and I'm able to give them my help, then I don't mind at all. I enjoy helping them out. But then there are some favors that can be a little bit unreasonable when they're asking so much of you. And in that case, well, it might annoy me a little bit. But that doesn't happen very often. So, all good in the hood. All good. Next question, number 6, I think. What are you learning to do at the moment? What are you learning to do at the moment? It's a bit embarrassing to say, but I'm not really learning anything new at the moment. I'm not learning to speak any new languages. I'm not even learning to improve my existing languages. You could say, as I've mentioned, that I'm learning to manage my finances better, but I'm not really learning anything new. And it sounds bad when I say it out loud. I should probably see if I can learn to do something new. I'll have a think about it. Let's see if I can take up a new hobby in the near future. Then we have you ever finished doing something and felt really proud? Have you ever finished doing something and felt really proud? I remember a moment when I felt really proud, and some of you listening will know exactly what I'm talking about, because it was May last year when I changed my website. So my website isn't the best, but I improved it and I changed it last year. And I changed my system of teaching group classes. Before May last year, you had to book each individual class. But then I realized that I would rather have more stability. So I would rather have people sign up for a subscription than individual classes. So I knew I needed to change my website provider. So I did it. I bit the bullet and I went for it. So I changed my website. I announced a new product and subscription. I emailed a group of existing students on my wait list. And then I launched it one Thursday morning. And when I launched it, immediately I saw my regular students and some new students all sign up to the community, to the British English Immersion Club, which I still continue to this day. And I initially had 50 places in the club, and all of these vacancies sold out in the first weekend, and the vast majority on the first day. So I remember finishing doing this and feeling so proud of myself. I think this is one of my favorite memories since becoming my own boss, of switching the website and, promoting a new product and selling out. I was over the moon. I was absolutely buzzing. It was an amazing weekend. And now, almost 1 year on, I think I'm going to change the website again soon and perhaps join my app website with my teaching website, because currently they're separate entities. But I'm thinking about merging them together and changing the provider for my website, but continuing with exactly the same product. So I'll let you know if I do end up doing that in the next couple of months. But yeah, this is one of my best memories. I felt so proud of myself when I finished launching this new subscription and selling out in the first weekend. It was amazing. So thank you, everybody who is listening, who joined my initial offering. And thank you, everybody who has since joined my classes, because, it's funny that I have so many followers on Instagram, etc. But the majority of people who actually take classes with me are people who listen to the podcast. So lots of love to you, and I appreciate it because I wouldn't be where I am today without you. So that's a little moment of appreciation. So love you lots, guys. Love you lots. Now let's keep going with another few and then we'll call it a day. We'll finish off. The next question is, what did you decide to study when you were younger? What did you decide to study when you were younger? Well, I assume this was before university. So I decided to study languages when I was 18. Again, because I didn't know what to do with my life. I was indecisive, I was insecure, and I decided to keep my options open rather than really narrowing down and picking one future. And I'm glad I made that choice. The ninth question is, do you dislike waiting in long queues? Do you dislike waiting in long queues? Absolutely. I can't stand waiting in long queues. There you have another ing. I can't stand waiting in long queues. I'm not very patient, I guess. My patience is wearing thin. That means that it's running out. And then the last question is, are you planning to travel anywhere soon? Are you planning to travel anywhere soon? Yes, I am. In fact, a week today, I am traveling to Seville. Remember, as I said, I'm recording this 1 week in advance. It's the 9th of April today. So in exactly 1 week from now, but when you're listening to this, it will be yesterday. It's like I'm traveling in time or something similar. But on the, is it 15th? Yeah, I think so. The 15th of April, I will be flying to Seville and spending an entire week in Seville because of a very special event, a special celebration, because it is the Seville Fair. It is the fair in April. And I'm just going to share my screen and show you some images of what the Seville Fair looks like. Because many people will know what I'm talking about, but there will also be many other people who have no idea what I'm on about. So looking at these Google images, this is more or less what the Seville Fair looks like. So it's generally very good weather, it's very hot, sometimes too hot. You have lots of very colorful marquees and tents, which are like temporary bars. And people go to these temporary bars, of which you are usually a member, and they'll stay there, maybe for lunch, maybe for dinner, maybe all day and all night long. And women will wear these traditional flamenco dresses, which are very flattering because they give you an hourglass figure. So, as a straight guy, all women look absolutely gorgeous when they wear these dresses. And the men, well, we wear suits, as if you were going to a wedding. So you'll notice when you are looking around at this area, which is absolutely packed, it's so crowded, it's teeming with people, that all the guys are wearing a suit and a tie. Everybody's looking very stylish, very formal, very dapper. And the women are usually wearing this traditional dress. And it can be a bit overwhelming because there are so many people there. And each person, if you're lucky, you have access to your own little tent or marquee. But if you know a lot of people, you'll spend the time wandering around from marquee to marquee, saying hello to your friends, having some drinks, having some food, and it's a really, really sociable week. On the Wednesday in Seville, it is a public holiday, so everybody has a day off, which means that usually Tuesday night and Wednesday are, whoa, so busy. So busy. And it's a little bit stressful for me. It can be a little bit overwhelming for me. Now I've been maybe 6, 7 years in total. So I'm used to it. I'm accustomed to it. But it is very intense. But I'm looking forward to it because, well, I'm going to be catching up with old friends and family. And I'm lucky to have access to all of these marquees and so on. So that's where I'm going in a week. And before the fair starts, I might head to the beach and have a little swim by the sea and have some typical Spanish food and hopefully get a little bit of a tan, sunbathing. And I'm sure I will be a little bit sleep deprived as well because my plan is to work most of the week as well. I might take a little bit of time off, but I'll be balancing work with the fair. So wish me luck. And by the time that you are listening or watching this, well, I'll already be in Seville. So on that note, I reckon we will call it a day. But thank you so much, everybody. I hope you liked this episode and have a great weekend, a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!